Welcome to part 3 of the series, Clause Alignment. In this part, we move from structure into implementation. We've already seen how Annex SL provides a common foundation across ISO 27001, ISO 27701, and ISO 42001. Now we take the next step, understanding how the clauses actually align across these standards, and how that alignment enables organizations to build a single, integrated management system. This is where integration becomes practical, where shared processes, shared controls, and shared evidence come together across security, privacy, and AI. One of the key reasons integration works is because all modern ISO standards follow the same structure. They are built on Annex SL, a common framework that aligns how management systems are designed and implemented. This means that clauses 4 through to 10 are not only present in each standard, but they follow the same structure and intent. And that's what creates the opportunity for integration. Because when the structure is aligned, organizations don't need separate systems. They can design one management system that supports multiple standards at the same time. To understand how these standards work in practice, it's important to look at the PDCA cycle: plan, do, check, act. This cycle sits at the core of all modern ISO management system standards and provides a continuous improvement model. We start with plan, which includes understanding the organization and defining the scope in Clause 4, establishing leadership and direction in Clause 5, and identifying and treating risks in Clause 6. From there, we move into do, where the system is enabled through resources, competence, and awareness in Clause 7, and then executed through operational control and implementation in Clause 8. Next is check, where performance is evaluated through monitoring, internal audits, and management review in Clause 9. And finally, act, where improvement takes place through corrective actions and continual enhancement in Clause 10. What this shows is that all standards follow the same life cycle, which is what allows organizations to build one integrated system that continuously improves over time. Now let's look at what is actually the same across ISO 27001, ISO 27701, and ISO 42001. As you can see, the core structure and requirements are aligned across all three standards. They all require the organization to define scope, understand context, identify stakeholders, and establish a management system. Leadership, policies, roles, and responsibilities are also consistent, ensuring governance is structured in the same way. Risk management follows the same pattern, identifying risks, assessing them, and applying treatment. The same applies to support functions such as resources, competence, awareness, communication, and documented information. Operational control, performance monitoring, internal audits, management review, and continual improvement are also aligned. What this means is that the foundation of the system is shared. And that's what enables integration, because these processes only need to be designed once and can then be applied across security, privacy, and AI. While the structure of these standards is the same, this slide highlights where they differ, particularly in privacy and AI. ISO 27701 extends the framework into privacy, introducing requirements around personal data, legal obligations, and data subject rights. This includes concepts such as PII lifecycle management, controller and processor responsibilities, and privacy impact assessments. ISO 42001 takes this further into AI governance. It introduces entirely new considerations, such as AI risk, including bias and misuse, as well as mandatory AI impact assessments, lifecycle management, and ethical oversight. It also expands the type of skills required, bringing in areas like machine learning, model governance, and responsible AI practices. So while the structure remains aligned, the depth and focus of each standard evolves, from security to privacy and then into AI. And this is the key to integration. You align what is common, but you manage what is unique. In practice, these are not separate outputs for each standard. They are a single, integrated set of artifacts. We start with one integrated scope statement, covering services, products, locations, and systems, with clear boundaries and exclusions across security, privacy, and AI. Next is the Organizational Context Register, capturing internal and external issues related to information security, personal data processing, and AI systems. We then define a consolidated interested parties register, including customers, regulators, data subjects, employees, and AI users, along with their needs and expectations. This is supported by a unified legal and regulatory requirements register, covering security obligations, privacy laws such as POPIA and GDPR, and emerging AI regulatory expectations. We also define the boundaries and interfaces of the integrated management system, including business units, systems, and third-party relationships, ensuring clarity on what is in scope and out of scope. And finally, we formally define the integrated management system itself, including its processes, interactions, and governance model. The key point is this: these are not duplicated across standards. They are designed once and used across multiple standards. Let's now look at Clause 5, Leadership, in an integrated management system. This is where governance is defined and driven from the top of the organization. We start with integrated leadership commitment, where top management provides direction and accountability across security, privacy, and AI governance. Next is the policy framework. Instead of separate policies, organizations can establish an aligned policy structure, either as a single umbrella policy or a suite of policies under one integrated framework. We then define roles, responsibilities, and authorities across all domains, including security roles, privacy accountability such as controllers and processors, and AI governance roles such as model owners or oversight functions. This feeds into the overall governance structure, including committees, reporting lines, and escalation paths, ensuring that oversight is clear and consistent. Leadership also ensures that direction and expectations are communicated effectively, both internally and, where required, externally. And finally, we formally define the governance model of the integrated management system itself. Importantly, all of these artifacts are mapped to the applicable standards and clauses, ensuring traceability and supporting integrated audits. The key point is this: leadership is not duplicated across standards, it is unified and applied across multiple domains. Clause 6 is where planning comes to life, and where integration becomes most visible. We start with a single integrated risk management methodology, covering information security, privacy, and AI risks. This feeds into one consolidated risk assessment, captured in a unified risk register that includes security threats, privacy risks such as personal data misuse, and AI risks like bias or model failure. From there, we develop one integrated risk treatment plan, combining security controls, privacy safeguards, and AI mitigation measures into a single, coordinated approach. A key output here is the Statement of Applicability, which acts as the control baseline, extended to include privacy and AI controls within the same framework. We also define integrated objectives and key performance indicators across all domains, ensuring alignment with business goals. And finally, we manage change in a controlled way, ensuring that any changes to systems, personal data processing, or AI models are properly assessed and managed. Importantly, all outputs are clearly mapped to the applicable standards and clauses, ensuring traceability and supporting integrated audits. The key point is this: Clause 6 is not duplicated, it is unified and applied across multiple domains. Let's now look at Clause 7, Support, from an integrated management system perspective. This is where the system is enabled. We start with an integrated resource plan, ensuring that people, technology, and budget are aligned across security, privacy, and AI. Next is the competence framework, where the organization defines the skills required across all domains, from information security and data protection to AI and model governance. This is supported by a single integrated awareness program, covering security practices, privacy obligations, and responsible AI use. Clause 7 also establishes the Documented Information System, ensuring that policies, procedures, records, and registers are controlled, accessible, and protected. And finally, we have integrated registers and artifacts, including the asset register, risk register, data processing records, AI model inventory, and the statement of applicability. The key point is this: these are not separate per standard. They are designed once and support the entire integrated management system. Clause 8 is where the management system becomes operational. We start by moving from planning to execution, where risks identified in Clause 6 are not recreated, but reviewed, validated, and brought into the operational environment. Risk treatment plans are then activated, and responsibilities are assigned. Next, the control environment is implemented. Controls across security, privacy, and AI are deployed, and the statement of applicability defines the control baseline for audit. We then move into operational processes, where procedures, workflows, privacy processing activities, and AI lifecycle governance are formally established and used. Operational management is also activated, including incident management, change control, and monitoring and logging. And finally, the integrated registers come alive. Risk, asset, control, AI, and data processing registers are populated, linked, and actively used. The key point is this: Clause 8 is where the system becomes real, where defined plans are translated into operational, auditable practice. Continuing with Clause 8, we now look at the operational outputs across security, privacy, and AI. From a privacy perspective, processing activities are now established. Personal data is being handled in line with defined processes, legal bases are applied, and data flows are understood and documented. This is evidenced through records such as the record of processing activities and supporting privacy operational records. From an AI perspective, systems are identified, governed, and actively managed. The AI lifecycle is defined and in operation, with registers and documentation in place, supported by initial monitoring activities. We also see incident and event management running across all domains, including security incidents, privacy breaches, and AI-related events, with logs and investigation records providing evidence of response. Change management is in operation, ensuring that any changes to systems, personal data processing, or AI models are controlled, assessed, and approved. Monitoring and logging are enabled, generating the operational evidence required for performance evaluation in Clause 9. And finally, all integrated registers are active, including risk, asset, control, AI, and data processing registers, populated, linked, and actively used within the system. Now we move into Clause 9, performance evaluation, where the organization begins to assess whether the system is actually working. This starts with defining key performance indicators and metrics across security, privacy, and AI, establishing how success will be measured. From there, baseline performance results are captured, providing an initial view of control implementation, risk levels, and system maturity. An internal audit program is then established, defining scope, criteria, and methodology across all three standards, followed by the first internal audits, which typically identify early-stage gaps such as incomplete implementation or missing evidence. These findings are captured in a non-conformity and issue register, forming the basis for improvement. At the same time, the organization performs an initial compliance evaluation, ensuring alignment with legal, regulatory, and contractual requirements, including privacy and emerging AI expectations. A key milestone here is the first management review, where leadership evaluates the system, confirms suitability, and determines readiness for certification. This leads to an updated risk profile, reflecting the actual state of risk after implementation. Control effectiveness is then assessed, even at an early stage, to demonstrate that controls are in place and functioning. And finally, all of this culminates in a readiness assessment, confirming that the organization has sufficient evidence, structure, and control to proceed to certification. The key point is this: Clause 9 is about validation. It provides the evidence that the system is not just designed and implemented, but is operating, measured, and ready for audit. We now come to Clause 10, improvement, where the management system closes the loop. This is where the organization takes everything learned from monitoring, audits, and operations, and turns it into meaningful improvement. It begins with corrective actions, triggered by audit findings, non-conformities, incidents, and monitoring results, ensuring that issues are identified, owned, and addressed. From there, root cause analysis is performed to understand why those issues occurred, whether due to process gaps, control weaknesses, human error, or AI-related risks such as bias or incorrect outputs. Based on these insights, controls are updated and strengthened across security, privacy, and AI, and the risk register is refined to reflect the organization's true risk posture. The statement of applicability is also updated, ensuring that control decisions remain aligned with actual implementation. All improvements are tracked through a central improvement register, capturing actions, lessons learned, and ongoing optimization. This is reinforced through updates to policies, procedures, and training, ensuring the organization continues to build capability over time. Controls are then retested to confirm effectiveness, and management may reassess and accept residual risks where appropriate. And ultimately, this leads to the most important outcome of all, evidence of continual improvement. Trends improve, incidents reduce, performance strengthens, and the organization becomes more resilient over time. The key point is this. Clause 10 ensures the system does not stand still. It evolves, continuously improving security, strengthening privacy, and maturing AI governance. Up to this point, we've focused on what can be integrated, but it's equally important to understand what must be done separately. Each standard introduces its own specific requirements that cannot be fully combined. From a risk perspective, ISO 27001 focuses on security risks, ISO 27701 focuses on privacy risks, and ISO 42001 introduces AI-related risks. There are also specialized assessments. Privacy requires data protection impact assessments, while AI introduces formal AI impact assessments, both of which are distinct and must be managed independently. Roles also differ. Privacy introduces controller and processor responsibilities, while AI requires roles such as model owners and ethics oversight. Each standard also brings its own lifecycle focus, from information to personal data to AI systems, as well as different regulatory expectations, including privacy laws such as POPIA and GDPR, and emerging AI regulations. The key point is this. Integration does not mean everything is the same. You align the structure, but you manage the differences. That is what makes an integrated management system both effective and compliant. Let's start with ISO 27001, the security baseline. This forms the foundation of the integrated management system. Even in an integrated environment, core security activities must still be performed. This includes conducting information security risk assessments with a focus on confidentiality, integrity, and availability, the CIA triad. It also requires the implementation of security controls, as defined in Annex A, to ensure risks are properly mitigated. And importantly, organizations must maintain ongoing technical security operations, such as access management, encryption, and logging, to ensure controls are not just defined, but actively operating and effective. The key point is this. Security is not optional within integration. It is the baseline, the layer that supports privacy, enables AI governance, and underpins the entire control environment. ISO 27701, the privacy extension, and what must be managed separately. While security provides the foundation, privacy introduces additional requirements focused specifically on personal data. It starts with understanding what personal data you process, where it flows, and who has access, through PII inventory and data mapping. For higher-risk processing, organizations must conduct data protection impact assessments, which focus specifically on the impact on individuals, and are separate from traditional security risk assessments. Privacy also introduces data subject rights management, including access requests, correction, and deletion, which have no direct equivalent in security or AI standards. There are also clearly defined roles and responsibilities, particularly the distinction between controllers and processors, along with associated legal obligations. And finally, privacy requires transparency through privacy notices and consent mechanisms, ensuring individuals are informed and their rights are respected. The key point is this: privacy builds on security, but it introduces its own obligations, its own processes, and its own accountability. And these must be managed explicitly within the integrated system. Finally, we move into ISO 42001 and what must be managed separately for AI. While security provides the foundation and privacy protects personal data, AI introduces an entirely new layer of governance. It starts with maintaining an AI system inventory, including models, use cases, and training data, similar to asset management, but with much greater depth and complexity. A key requirement is the AI impact assessment, which is mandatory. This goes beyond traditional risk, focusing on bias, fairness, ethical considerations, and broader societal impact. AI also requires full lifecycle governance, from design and training, through validation and deployment, to ongoing monitoring. This level of lifecycle control has no direct equivalent in security or privacy standards. And importantly, AI introduces requirements around transparency and explainability, ensuring decisions can be understood, logic is documented, and accountability is maintained. The key point is this: AI extends beyond control into responsibility, and that's what makes it the most significant evolution in modern management systems. Let's close with the key takeaway. You are not building three separate systems. You are applying one framework across multiple domains. The structure is shared. The foundation is aligned. But each domain, security, privacy, and AI, brings its own specific requirements that must be managed within that framework. And that's what makes integration powerful. It simplifies implementation, strengthens governance, and creates a system that is both efficient and compliant. In the next part, we take this even further. We move into integrated risk management, where everything we've discussed comes together in practice.